You're famous because your daddy's famous.
You're only famous because your dad is, they said. And that was the last straw. T.I. had finally reached his breaking point after comedian D.L. Hughley claimed that his son, King Harris, was on the fast track to prison. The King of the South wasn't laughing. There were no jokes, no clever tweets, no passive-aggressive responses. T.I. met the criticism head-on, man-to-man.
Why did I bring that up? Because P&G, he did that same thing that Lil King doing.
What began as another casual celebrity opinion turned into a full-blown debate about fatherhood, respect, and the challenges of raising a child in the blinding glare of fame. Why bring that up? T.I. fired back. Because you did the same thing these kids are doing now. This wasn't just another headline about King Harris getting into trouble. It was about a father defending his child's name, ready to fight for his family's honor, no matter who was watching. T.I. made one thing clear. Family comes before everything, even when the world is watching and social media is quick to judge. He said, "When we grew up, we actually lived in the conditions people now glorify." That hit hard, because it's true. Too many people romanticize a lifestyle they've never lived or survived. Let's unpack what really happened. You've seen the viral clips and the messy headlines. King Harris, son of T.I. and Tiny Harris, has been dominating blogs for all the wrong reasons. Public arguments, run-ins with fans, and even minor legal troubles. "Man, stop hitting me up and telling me what to say to King," T.I. vented online. Even with wealth, fame, and a privileged upbringing, King's been acting like he has something to prove, chasing the street image his parents worked hard to protect him from. The internet hasn't been forgiving. Commenters accuse him of acting hood despite not growing up in the trenches, of trying too hard, and of disrespecting his family's legacy. Normally, people online talk just for clicks. But when D.L. Hughley spoke, it hit differently. He didn't sound like a gossip blogger. He sounded like a man sharing a warning born from experience. When he said if King keeps this up, he's gonna end up behind bars. It wasn't mockery. It was tough love. Still, for T.I., that was one line too far. "We grew up in the life they think is cool. We actually lived it," he reminded everyone. Going to prison ain't something to glorify. From that moment, it was game on. T.I. has always been vocal about his family, flaws and all. You can criticize his music, his controversies, or his past, but one thing's undeniable. He's a father before anything else. So when another successful black man, another father figure like D.L. Hughley, publicly questioned his son's future, T.I. didn't take it as advice. He took it as disrespect. For him, this wasn't just about King Harris. It was about protecting his legacy, his family, and his values in a world that loves to see famous families fall apart. He's out of line. Straight up, T.I. said. According to him, D.L. Hughley crossed the line when he decided to air his thoughts publicly instead of picking up the phone. "You could have called me, bro," T.I. said. "You could have said, 'I'm worried about your boy.' But instead, you said it on camera for the world to hear." To T.I., that wasn't tough love, that was disrespect, bold and loud. And this confrontation didn't happen in some fancy studio or podcast setup. It went down face-to-face, raw, unfiltered, and tense. Witnesses say T.I. looked D.L. dead in the eyes and warned, "Don't ever speak on my son like that again. You don't know my household. You don't know the kind of father I am." D.L. tried to de-escalate, claiming he wasn't attacking anyone, just saying what many were already thinking. But T.I. wasn't having it. "Everybody might think it," he shot back, "but not everybody says it. You said it for views. You needed a headline." That's when things heated up fast. This wasn't just two celebrities arguing. This was fatherhood versus fame, pride versus perception, and a generational clash about what it means to raise a young black man under the spotlight. Let's rewind a bit. King Harris, T.I. and Tiny's son, has been in headlines for years, and not for music. From flaunting cash online to arguing with strangers and even minor run-ins with police, King's behavior has fueled non-stop criticism. People online call him a spoiled rich kid pretending to be street, saying he's acting out despite having every privilege. Every time King's name trends, his parents' names trend right with it. That's what happens when you raise kids in fame. That's what happens when parents chase the spotlight instead of teaching discipline. The judgment never stops, and T.I. has usually stayed calm through it all. But when D.L. Hughley chimed in, everything changed. Now, to be fair, D.L. didn't sound malicious. On his podcast, he said, "I've seen what happens when young men get too comfortable trying to be tough. It never ends well. I love T.I., but if he doesn't check his son, that boy's headed for jail, or worse. To DL, that was tough love and wisdom. But to T.I., it was a public insult. This is a man who clawed his way up from the trenches, a rapper who turned his pain into a legacy. So when another man publicly questioned his parenting, it cut deep. You don't get to speak on my son's future, T.I. snapped. That's between me, God, and my boy. Don't ever predict prison for another man's child. At that point, things shifted from commentary to confrontation. Most people don't realize there's a history there. Sure, T.I. and DL have shown each other public respect over the years, but they've never been close. They come from different worlds. T.I., the Southern trap legend turned family man and activist. DL, the seasoned comedian who's become a voice of moral commentary online. So when DL spoke about King, he might have thought he was giving advice. But to T.I., it felt like an outsider judging his home. And in the South, that's dangerous territory. Pride and family mean everything. T.I. has spent years rebuilding his image, from the streets to success, from controversy to community leadership. So when DL questioned his parenting, it didn't just target King. It challenged everything T.I. has worked to become. Witnesses say the tension got heavy, almost physical. T.I. stepped closer and said, "You think sitting behind a mic makes you better? My son's not perfect, but is growing. Don't judge him before he's had the chance to." The room went silent after that. But DL, staying calm, looked him back in the eye and said, "If you don't want the public to talk about him, then keep him out of the public." Then DL fired back, calm but sharp. "If you don't want people talking, keep your son out of the spotlight. You raised him in front of cameras, now you mad folks got opinions." That line cut deep, because, truth be told, there was some truth in it. T.I. and Tiny had invited the world into their home through T.I. and Tiny, the family hustle. Viewers watched King grow up, his humor, his temper, his attitude, all on full display. But when he started acting out, those same fans turned quick. Love turned into judgment, admiration into mockery. That's really all DL was trying to say. But T.I. wasn't hearing it. Logic didn't matter in that moment. Loyalty did. "You don't check my son on camera," T.I. snapped. "If you've got something to say, you call me. That's what real men do." And just like that, social media blew up. The internet split right down the middle. Some sided with DL, claiming he was just being honest. He said what we're all thinking, King's heading down a rough path. It's not hate, it's concern. He's seen this movie before. Others took T.I.'s side. You don't talk about another man's child, that's a no-go. The debate got heated, and the memes came fast. Photos of King acting wild went viral with captions like "DL warned us," and clips of T.I. giving fatherhood talks turned into jokes and reaction videos. The internet did what it always does, turn real pain into entertainment. But underneath all that noise, there was something deeper. This wasn't about clout. It was about a father trying to protect his son in a world that's waiting for him to fall. Not long after, T.I. addressed it all head-on through Instagram. "You'll love to talk about my son, but nobody offering to help. You'll want to see him crash, but I won't let that happen." Then he added something that hit home. "You can't raise a young man in front of the world without mistakes. I made mine. Now he's making his. That's how growth works." It was T.I. at his realest, a father, flawed but firm, standing up for his kid no matter the noise. And then came the line that went viral everywhere. "I'm not afraid of who my son's becoming, I'm afraid of how the world treats young black men who make mistakes." That quote flipped the whole narrative. Suddenly, it wasn't about beef. It became a conversation about how young black men are judged in public, how one bad move turns into a permanent label. DL eventually responded, calm but resolute. "I get it. I defend my kids too. But truth is truth. Fame doesn't teach discipline, and I want King to win." He explained it wasn't shade, it was a warning from experience. You stay in this industry long enough, you see what happens to young men with too much attention and not enough grounding. I hope he proves me wrong. That shifted the energy. It wasn't two men feuding anymore, it was two fathers seeing the same storm from different angles. T.I. was fighting for protection. DL was pushing for prevention, both trying to keep a young man from losing himself before life really starts. Then, King himself spoke up online. "I don't care what none of your old dudes gotta say. I'm living my life." Bold words, But later that same day he posted something that showed he'd been thinking. I know I gotta grow up. I know people watching me. But I ain't no criminal, I'm just young. That's when the internet began to ease up. Because under the headlines and drama, King is just 19. Still figuring out who he is, only difference is, he's doing it in front of millions. Behind closed doors, word is T.I. and DL later spoke privately. No cameras, no mics, just man to man. Sources say they agreed to disagree, but with mutual respect. T.I. told him, next time, just call me first. DL replied, fair. But don't take it personal when I speak truth. And honestly, both had valid points. T.I. was right, when it comes to someone's child, especially in the spotlight, you move carefully. But DL wasn't wrong either. Actions bring consequences, and fame doesn't shield anyone from them. That clash between truth and pride is what made this story so powerful. Because this wasn't just celebrity gossip, it was about the challenge of parenting under public eyes, where every move gets magnified, and every mistake becomes a meme. In the end, this story isn't really about drama or beef, it's about perspective. A comedian spoke his version of truth. A father stood up to protect his family. And a young man is trying to find himself under the kind of spotlight most adults couldn't handle. Fame can look glamorous, but it's a double-edged sword. When your life unfolds in front of millions, every slip-up becomes a headline. Every emotion turns into a meme. But the real growth, the kind that actually matters, happens away from the cameras, in quiet moments no one sees. Because when the lights fade and the noise dies down, what truly lasts isn't the fame, it's how you raise your child and the values you leave behind. That's what gives this whole situation its real weight. It's not about who was right or wrong, it's about what it takes to lead your family through chaos and still keep your heart steady. So what do you think? Was DL out of line for speaking on King Harris? Or was he just being honest about what he saw coming? And did T.I. handle it right? Or did his emotions get the best of him? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Public Secrets, where we tell the real stories behind the headlines and deliver the truth that hits harder than any diss.